Hey everyone, welcome back to Power Tips. We're continuing on in our review of the release Wave 2 for 2024 features and new announcements that are coming out. And today we're talking about Power Apps. And these are the announcements that were released in August timeframe. So some of them are already out or coming out soon, but Ignite is happening this week. So expect more and more announcements coming really soon. I'm going to kick it off with a few features from the Copilot section of the Power Apps release notes. And keep in mind, some of these ones that we're talking about will be for model-driven apps. So those also apply for Dynamics in your Dynamics CE environments as well. One of the ones that caught my attention here is the filling forms faster with Smart Paste. So you guys have already seen there's a feature to kind of recommend populating data in your forms, and now you can also do that from like a copy paste. So you could have an email and then go to a form and it will say, hey, here's where I think all of those data points belong. I think this is, if it works like it says, this will be really cool and could be really helpful for salespeople getting things entered in faster. And that is supposed to be in public preview in November, but it is not available just yet. Okay. And next one is we can also find records with natural language. So this is something that we saw a few years ago, the first time we saw some of this natural language searching, and then it's kind of come and gone and moved into different products. And now it's back again that we'll be able to search within a view for a specific view type of records, right? Here we're looking for cases that are supposed to be followed up by a certain date, or cases for certain case types and things like that. And so you can use natural language to actually build that view. That public preview is also coming soon, and general availability will be in April. Go ahead, Heidi. What do you think about this?
This makes me a little sad at the dead art of advanced find queries. Back in the day, we had to know exactly how to work with advanced find, and it's like all completely gone now. That's all I wanted to say.
I think you're still going to need that because you still have to understand how stuff is related and where to start and things like that. And I think we're still going to need that skill set. And especially when we think about reporting, I think it's going to be even more important from Power BI that they have that full understanding of the data, because users are going to be able to get some of those answers using this technology. So we have to make sure that our reporting is like even higher level and not just providing the kind of basics that it was before.
Well, thanks for making me feel a little better.
I'm intrigued by the how they define natural language, because those queries that are being stated in that screenshot, I don't know many people who talk quite like that. I mean, maybe a little bit, some of them, but some of them definitely not. Those are clearly, like, if I was looking for something, I'd be like, show me case number ending with 9K9. And I'm curious if it's going to be able to pull that up and find that, or if it's got to be structured like you see it here, because I don't know many people who are going to be able to say CAS dash and know the exact case, right? So things like that. But hopefully we've had natural language and other stuff too, and it is pretty robust. So hopefully these are just samples and that's it.
Yeah, it's still like learning how to build the prompts and all of that.
Absolutely.
Which will take time. And I think, yeah, when we had seen this before, it was in the top search bar, and so you could search across multiple tables, but now it'll be within one table, so it helps to, I think, maybe refine, or maybe it will guide you through building that natural language. But
yeah,
I have one more Copilot feature before I pass it over to Heidi. So also, we have now column suggestions. So when you're working with a view, Copilot can suggest some columns that you might want to add into that view. That should be available for public preview now. I have not tried it out, but it is available. And then general availability, it said October, but it is not out yet. So I think we could see that any day now.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Cool. The two I'm going to go through very quickly are already available, but I thought they were cool. This is just a fun little user thing, and I have noticed this in my own environments. You know how that sidebar would pop out and it just took up that space. It either was there or it wasn't there. Now we can resize the pane so they can actually get a little bigger, but more importantly, they can get a little smaller. So these are things like your Copilot that pops out, any of your productivity tools, and the Teams chat. So fun little tiny update that is live now in your environments and makes me a little bit happier. And then we're talking about updates here. So in model-driven apps, there is a monthly channel option, and there's a chart that is out of the release notes. So you'll be able to pick from either monthly or semi-annual release channels. So semi-annual is what we have had historically. And if you have had a model-driven app that is older than 2024 release wave 1, you are defaulted to semi-annual. Anything beyond that defaults you to monthly. So here's the direct quote out of the release wave, so I don't have to try to paraphrase it and possibly get it wrong. But anything that is set as auto is now moving to the monthly cadence, whereas in the past, that used to be semi-annual. So you can, as an admin and a maker, change your cadence to be semi-annual, which is just that 2 times a year, or you can keep it as the default in monthly. Not a super exciting update, but I think it's important to know that. So if you have historic apps, they might not be updated as often as your new apps.
This is such an important one because organizations have to take control over, just from a change management perspective, there's so many things that they need to think about. So giving people the ability to make this choice and properly plan. And if you're not doing that, you should be, and you should start thinking about how do we plan for releases that are coming out and what we're communicating to our users and all that good stuff. So the more choice we give people, the better. I love this one.
Absolutely. And if you have users who might resist change and you have a slower cadence of embracing change and training and rolling things out, semi-annual might be a better option for you.
People love change. What are you talking about?
True.
So I have 2 and then a bonus one that came to mind when you shared your first one about the slider, because there's a couple other little things that we stumbled across recently that I didn't even know were on the horizon that are game changing. So I want to touch on those really quickly. So first and foremost, monitor, improve operational health of your apps and things that are going on. This is such a huge one. Sometimes we set it and forget it, and we're like, it's fine, it's running, and it's all good. But we should always be checking in and looking for opportunities for enhanced efficiency with it. Is it truly doing what we expected it to? Is it running optimally, right? Those are the core questions. So this one coming out November, so hopefully anytime now, you get to preview and get some ideas around what it's looking for. You can see on the bullet points, they give you some detail on some of the things you'll be able to monitor, which is awesome. I think the big one for this, in my opinion, is you have to schedule time to do this, right? If you just like, oh yeah, I'll get to that someday, you probably won't because we're all busy and things come up all the time. So schedule time once a month, once every other week, once a quarter, whatever it is. Schedule dedicated intentional time to dig into these metrics, look at them, and actually think about it. Don't just look at them. Think about what I'm seeing tell me about this app, and what do I need to think about in terms of changing and making it more efficient and restructuring it maybe, or whatever the case may be. So that's number 1. And number 2 is super vague in the notes. That's copied right out of the notes. Improve testing options for Power Apps, blah, blah, blah. That's all it says. So I'm super intrigued by this, but I wanted to put this one in here, not just because it's vague and I'm curious what they're going to say, but it underscores for me the importance of proper testing. And we see this all the time. People build an app and you test as you go, right? I put this thing in and when I push the button, it's supposed to do the thing. Oh, it does it. Great. Move on. But so often we see organizations not think about the robust end-to-end test. What happens at the beginning? How do we start? Where do we go with the data? What do we do with that data? What do we expect to happen? And go not just as you go and build it, but end-to-end testing through a variety of scenarios that might come up. Because when you start to do that, then you start to realize, oh, we didn't really account for this nuance that might come up. So I love that they're moving in this direction and giving us enhanced testing options. I'm super curious as to what that's actually going to be, because I think it's really important, and I'm intrigued by what their definition of what enhanced testing should actually stand for. So thoughts on that before we move to the bonus ones?
This is a much needed thing, but again, like, I wish there was a little bit more here. Is it going to be like the impersonate tools that we can use with other community tools? That would be great for that to be baked into Power Apps.
Yeah, so important, and something that like you said, is easily forgotten or rushed through. And I think the automated testing is great, but right now is kind of difficult with most both Dynamics and Power Apps, right? So if
Yeah.
we have ways to make that easier, that's going to be great.
Okay, so quick bonus one. This is more of a model-driven one, but we stumbled across it, and you showed the slider for the Copilot piece, and I thought it was important. So I'm going to take over screen sharing in just a second. And so we don't have to spend a lot of time on this. This might even be old news because we all know sometimes I'm a little behind the times. But this kind of stuff just blew me away the other day and totally found it by accident. Did you know that you can just drag your columns around now in a
Ooh,
view? And so
I
that's really
didn't know.
cool, right? So I actually was trying to resize something the other day and the whole thing moved and I was like, what just happened? Then I clicked on here because the move left, move right has been around in some apps, but Field Service had it for a while before. And then I thought, what is this? And what is this? The average amount is 2320, and we can sum things now, maximums,
What?
sum it up,
what
and
is
it shows at the
this?
bottom. I was blown away. So bonus feature, you can go and play around. This is a trial environment. It's in our real environment where I work. And so it's here. I don't know when it came. I don't know when they talked about it, but it's here and it's super functional. This to me is just absolutely game changing. Perhaps to your point, maybe wrecks the whole advanced find art that once existed, but we still got to know how to get the actual columns in here. So that's a little different, but still really
Huh.
cool feature that I thought would be
That's
neat to highlight
awesome.
really
When
briefly.
you move those columns around, does it prompt you to like save it as a new view?
That's a great question. It must because I see the asterisk here.
Okay.
So yeah, it must be then have the option
This
down
is
here, save
cool.
as
I didn't know any of this. Thank
right?
you.
I found it on Friday morning and I thought it was lack of coffee and I was like, I can't be seeing this. And then I
Am
had
I
a cup of
going
coffee and it still
insane?
did it.
Yeah.
So, but very cool.
Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for joining us for this edition of Power Tips. Lots of cool things in Power Apps, and stay tuned for our next episode. We're going to dive a little deeper into the Power Platform later in December. Have a great holiday for those of you in the US. Enjoy your Thanksgiving. Otherwise, we'll catch you next month.
Yeah.